I'm absolutely fascinated at what is happening with the royals at the moment. It's not something that I usually dive into, but as soon as I heard that King Charles had taken away all of the titles from his brother Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, I was like, I really do have to have a look at this, at his birth chart, which I call the personality blueprint, because everything that you need to know about how your personality is going to develop confidently, or if you respond from low esteem behaviors, depending on where all of the zodiac signs are sitting in your chart, and where all of the planets are sitting in your chart. So this is Andrew's birth chart. I haven't looked at it yet, so we're gonna look at it at the same time. If you are stumbling across this, first of all, it makes my heart so happy that you have discovered me. I am Jodine Sher, co-owner of Lifeology. We are in people development and change management, and we do everything that helps you to become as self-aware as possible, to make the changes that you need to live, to succeed, to have the relationships that you want, the desires that you wish to bring to life. I also break a lot of manifestation myths at the same time. I have an incredible group called the Radical Self-Awareness Group that you join if you do any kind of work with me. And in that, you have constant access to me the whole time. And I'm sharing information as we go all the time. About everything from astrology, numerology, tarot, metaphysics, what's happening in the world, the way the ego works, the mind works, meditation. It just goes on and on. You can book time, free time, a half an hour. I'm going to put the link in the website for you to ask me any kind of questions about what I do and how what I'm going to do now with Andrew's chart could support you in your journey and in your life. So what's so very fascinating is that this is the symbol of Leo, and this point in the chart is known as the rising sign or the ascending. So it's when the sun was coming up over the horizon, what zodiac sign was rising. And what's so important about that, it's actually in the word rising. So most of the time, we take someone's personality and we have a look at their sun sign to get an idea of how they're going to interact in the world, which is definitely how you're going to shine in the world. That's the sun sign. But this is how you rise up to be seen in the world. And what's fascinating about Leo is that Leo is the archetype of the performer and actually loves the stage and is the royal. It is the royal of the zodiac sign. So the fact that Andrew is now stripped of everything that has anything to do with royal is extremely fascinating, because it also goes just into the cusp of his second house. So this is your house of identity. You ask the question, who am I? And then this is the house of values. What do I value? And also, how does the way I value myself indicate what I do with my possessions and with my valuables? And this is going to change a lot for him because of everything that's happened. So this planet over here, this is known as Uranus, and Uranus is I call it the planet, almost like the planet of shock. It's the planet that shakes everything up so that you see things in a different way, that you respond in a different way, and it's supposed to almost like ruffle the feathers in order for you to bring about any of the changes that you need to bring about. So in a nutshell, his poor performance was a shock. Basically, his poor performance was a shock, and what we are seeing is a question of how he is valuing himself, or how he is being valued at the same time. And it's sitting in the zodiac sign of Virgo, which is so interesting because Virgo is the perfectionist, actually. And Virgo is supposed to show you how you will how you will be of service, what you will do to be of service. So what's so interesting is that the way that I work is everything is what what could unfold in your life if you were to use the behaviors and the traits in a confident way, or if you use them in a low esteem way. So there's no prediction into somebody's story, but it's beautiful to be able to reflect once we've seen something that has happened and then figure out how to work forward. So as a value system and as a place of power, something that is would be extremely powerful would be for Andrew to be of service. But there are other aspects within his profile. For example, these empty houses over here, especially the 11th house. The 11th house talks about how you are, form part of the community and how you are in the world. So it's the way that you impact the world. And he has Gemini over here, which is the way that he's supposed to impact the world is he is supposed to have a voice and be able to use that voice. And in the dynamic that he was born into, there is no opportunity to just have the voice any way that you like it. You can't just use your voice freely, which must have been this is always in my perception. I don't have the opportunity for Andrew to speak back to me, but if I was working with another client, these are the kind of questions that I would ask. I would say, did you grow up in an environment where you did not have the freedom to use your voice the way that you wanted to? So he was placed in a role within a community, and the way that he thought and the way that he spoke and what he did not have the freedom that this Gemini energy just absolutely loves to have. If that was frustrating enough and it felt like it really stifled him as this proud Leo, because there's a lot of pride here, and pride is very important to someone who has the rising sign aspect, then it's not surprising that there's so much upheaval that's happening literally when he asks himself the question, who am I? It's now his identity has completely shifted with the title being taken away and with so much happening. What's also so interesting for me is this fourth house over here. So the fourth house always represents security. It's what anchors you into your secure roots and how you feel safe and secured and anchored. And it stems from what was happening in the home when you were younger. And then it also determines how you're going to create everything that is home to you as you get older, which has also been disrupted completely. What is home to him has also currently now been disrupted. But in this whole upbringing, this is called the cusp over here, right? And when there's the cusp, which is the cusp of Libra, even though a lot of people would just look at the cusp, for example, in astrology and say, oh, in the home, you would be, for example, the peacekeeper or the diplomat because it's starting on the cusp. But the whole of Scorpio is sitting in this fourth house, the entire energy of Scorpio. And Scorpio is loaded with secrets. It's also absolutely loaded with dark, and I'm not saying dark scary, but like sexual energy. There's if you cannot express yourself into your truth as a Scorpio, then there's a lot of hidden things that you do, so it can be very secretive. So, and this is his emotional, how he chooses to use his emotions and how he manages his emotional well-being is sitting over here in Scorpio, fully in the fourth house, which can really bring in this energy of no one needs to know what I'm doing in order to do what feels emotionally fulfilling for me, and that can go into sexual energy. It definitely can go into different levels of power energy, and there can be a lot of hiding and a lot of secrets, which is very, very understandable. Chiron is such an interesting asteroid, so it's not a planet like the rest. And the reason why I work with Chiron, and then you might not, if you know astrology well, you could be looking and you could be seeing that there are some other asteroids that are missing. Chiron's the only one that I work with because it is talking directly about your wound. And what I do with the change and with the transformation and with the radical self-awareness is we want to get you to understand the subconscious of the wound, where the wound is stemming from, so that the ego doesn't hold on to the wound forever, and that you can actually move through it. And Chiron gives us a beautiful indication of how you have the capacity to move through the wound. And it is sitting in his seventh house with the zodiac of Aquarius, which is known as the visionary. And the seventh house is your relationship with people. How do I relate to others, and what does my relationship with one individual after another do? What is my role in relating? So his wound is his role in relating. And the the Aquarius is the very energy of when it's good, when it's come out well, then it can be uniqueness. But when you are in an environment and in a family where everyone is supposed to be doing exactly what they're told to do, this is going to be extremely stifled. So he would be extremely stifled to not have the ability to express his uniqueness and take the vision of himself. There's a lot of Pisces energies, so even the way that he communicates is as a Pisces, and his sun is also Pisces. There is the dreamer there, and if you are loaded with dreams, or you have a vision for yourself but you don't have any kind of capacity to fulfill any of those visions for yourself, when you are almost put born into a role and you cannot live out who you wish to be, then this kind of energy sits over here, and it's going to impact every single relationship. And especially at the moment, it is now impacting his entire family relationship. And even though there are certain um, criteria that are going to keep him, they're not throwing him out onto the street, right? Um, it is definitely tarnished relationships, which makes so much sense. And it's just a perpetuated wound within the dynamic of relationships. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this all plays out with Andrew, because one thing that doesn't change is that he is still that Leo rising, and Leo is extremely proud. They do make good leaders, and it's something that there was a choice to rise to that. But in the low esteem of Leo, then it can really be hiding in the shadows, uh, just roles and the way that life unfolded. But there's definitely other ways to have risen into the strength that Leo has the potential to be. With that Scorpio moon, especially because it's in the fourth house, whether he's showing it or not, there is wounding there. And it comes from family, it comes from a sense of security, and to actually be removed from your home, stripped of your title, is we can see this when it comes to the Scorpio energy that also goes into the low esteem, because secrets can really get very dark. So we'll see how this all unfolds. If any of this made you curious in any kind of way, then please reach out to me. Also, if you would like to do other charts, I do something so beautiful called relationship synergy profiling. We could actually put Andrew and King Charles's personalities together, and I do that in the process of core soft skills, because as soon as you relate to somebody else, then the whole dynamic of your personality changes. It's very different to look at an astrological chart, a personality blueprint, when it's an individual for self-awareness, and when you're actually comparing different, for example, zodiac signs that navigate or that guide the energy, for example, of Mercury. So Mercury is how two people communicate. So when you take the zodiac sign that is governing one person's Mercury and another person's Mercury, you can actually see the dynamics of how they are going to communicate, how they're going to listen to each other, what the thought process is going to be together for them. And I do that with so many different types of relationships. Parents and children is something that I love to do. Also, couples who are navigating families, business partners, people before you step into long-term relationships that make big commitments. And if you also just are trying to figure out to spend a little bit of time with me, not dive so completely into something that is big and long term, then a numerology session or a tarot reading for exactly what's happening in the current moment. But it's very important to understand that I don't do that as any kind of prediction. We're going in, we're asking the tarot cards to tap into that soul energy of yours, the ego energy of yours, and to see the different options and the different ways that you could navigate certain things depending on what you are holding that you might not be able to tap into on the surface of what your mind is allowing you to remember, what your ego mind is allowing you to remember. You can also book an instant insight, which is a free half an hour time that you spend with me. You can bring any question that you want. I have my tarot cards, my numerology with me. I can open up my astrology profile, pop your birthday in, and we can get a little bit of insight. Once again, it is not prediction. It's all linked to self-awareness. Every single thing that we have the capacity to do where we are aware brings our mind into the present moment, which is just so much more helpful to quiet the ego down. And when you're on the website, you're going to see that whatever you do with me, there is the opportunity to pay what you feel. And that's because there is such an understanding that finances can be interesting at a time when you're trying to navigate your relationship with yourself. And it is important for you to be able to have what you need in the support that's so important. So there's a minimum and there's a suggested, and you can pay anything in between that feels comfortable and feels aligned for you. And on that note, I will speak to you the next time something exciting happens.